Okay, cool. Day 8, right? So let's begin. I'm just going to go straight to it. So probably you've watched my day 6 and day 7, or probably you haven't. Um, I'm just trying to record myself work on each of the 30 days of code problems, right? Day 1 to day 5 were very, very simple. I'm telling you, very, very simple. So I didn't record them, but it keeps, well, as you see the difficulty, it's still easy, so kind of it's easy. All right, let's just begin. um Giving n names, I won't read this because it's almost the same every single time. Okay, so this is the only thing different. Today we're learning about key value pair mappings using a map or dictionary data structure. Okay, giving n names and phone numbers, assemble a phone book that maps friends' names to their respective phone numbers. You will be giving an unknown number of names to query your phone book for. For each name queried, print the associated entry from your phone book on a new line in the form name equal phone number. If an entry for name is not found, print not found instead. Note, your phone book should be a dictionary map, hash map, data structure. Sincerely, I haven't learned about how all these data structures work, but I'm guessing it's like, in this case, it's going to be like an object in JavaScript. I'm thinking about I'm going to implement it in JavaScript now, because again, I might be wrong about this, but like most of when I search for data structures, like trainings and teachings and lectures or courses, most of them do it in Java, and I don't like Java. I find it really kind of complicated for me. When I learned it, in the conditions I learned it, I didn't find it a pleasant language in any way. So learning those data structures weren't as I never took those courses, because basically, according to some of the things I found, Java has everything. Like, most of all these data structures can be taught and covered in like Java. And you can get, for example, this dictionary, hash map, and so on. I'm guessing there is a method or something that you can implement, or that is called directly hash maps. So, and JavaScript, I haven't seen anything like that. So, the input format, the first line contains an integer n, denoting the number of entries in the phone book. Okay, first line n, which is an integer denoting the number of entries in the phone book. So, okay, each of the n subsequent lines describes an entry in the form of two spaced separated values on a single line. Okay. The first value is a friend's name, and the second value is an 8-digit phone number. Okay. After the n lines of phone book entries, I'm sorry for not highlighting as I'm reading, so you know exactly where I am. After the n lines of phone book entries, there are an unknown number of lines of queries. Each line query contains a name to look up, and you must continue reading lines until there is no more input. Okay. Names consist of lowercase English alphabetical letters and are first names only. Okay. Constraints. N, which is this first number, is this is the constraint. 10 raised to the power 5. That is 10 raised to the power 5 is yeah, 5 probably is like 5 zeros, of course, so like that is 100,000 probably. 100,000, did I get it? 100,000. Oh boy, this is okay. Let's open a new terminal. Alright, so I wanted to do 10 raised to the power 5. What? I'm guessing math is directly in JavaScript support. 1 2 3 1 2 3. Oh yeah, 100,000, correct. Okay, good. 100,000. Okay. Alright, yeah, and the queries same for each of them. So queries is what exactly? Queries. So yeah, there are an unknown number of lines of queries. Each query contains a name to look up. You must read. Oh, okay, there's something I missed, something I want to see. The first value is the friend's name. Each of the n subsequent line. Oh yeah. So depending, oh, I get it. So they give me n, this. So I know that for each of the n subsequent line describes an entry. So for example, if there are 3, then if you give me 3 here, so they are going to be 1 2 3 lines separated by a space. The first value is going to be a friend's name, and the second value is going to be 8-digit number. Okay, and after the n lines, that's after 1 2 3, then there are unknown numbers of lines of queries. Each line, so unknown number of lines. So they can be, so these can be more than 3, it can be 5, it can be 10, it can be 50. Okay, I'm getting the constraints now. I'm guessing, so everything after this is queries, right? Everything after this 1 2 3 are now called queries. So each line in bracket query, so queries after this, okay, good, contains a name to look up, and you must continue to read. Okay, makes sense. Sample output: Sam Edward, right, not found, Harry equals to this. Yeah, logical, makes sense. Where is my function? Okay, here. So let's write down our steps. So the first thing I want to do is I want to okay, let me think. What's the first thing I want to do? Let's go back here. Okay, just one thing. If I didn't understand the output, then I read the explanation. But maybe you can pause the video, read the explanation if you don't understand. But I already understand what is required by just seeing the output and understanding the question. So that's enough for me. I don't need to read the explanation. Okay. As always, I like to implement the constraints, but there's something important. Okay. First, I need to get n. I need to get the entries. Yeah, describe an entry into the form. I will call them entries. Entries, I mean 1 2 3. I'm going to call them entries, and I need to get the queries. That's this. So probably, see, I've had a different task. I think it was in day 6 where I had an issue with the value they were passing. So So since it's going to be a string and they are all going to be in the new line, then I can call it like an input array. Okay, no, first of all I must write my steps. So first I need to convert the input into an array. Second, I need to group. I'm sorry for my keyboard. Yeah. Secondly, I have to group I need to group the input array into 3 n entries and queries. Right, I hope I spelled that right. Yeah, so once I group them, I need to then implement constraints for implement constraints. Then next, once I implement constraints, then okay, then I need to convert entries into an object so that we can be able to map, we can be able to find the key value pair, I'm guessing. 5. The reason it's an object in JavaScript is because from the question I could already understand that what they want me to do is to pass a key and I should get a value. And how do I do that in JavaScript? By objects. Create an object, put a key, put a value. By pointing to that key, you can be able to get the value. Very, very simple. Simple stuff. Okay. So here it looks like maybe a different language to be implemented in a different language. Oh, I'm learning Golang, and this is almost no, not exactly, but like the brackets and the comma between the two, it's almost looking like Golang, but it isn't exactly Golang. I'm very sure of that. For Golang, you need to specify the type. Like here, yeah, you need to specify the type. It opens this bracket, but you don't need these square brackets. Not square brackets, parentheses. Yeah, I might be missing something because I'm learning it. I started learning it for some time now. So, yeah. Alright, let's go. Next, what do I need to implement next? So, yeah, I convert this into an array. Okay, then, I convert this into an object, the entries, and then lastly, I would loop through the queries get the query value from the entries object, right? If value not found in entries, return not found. I hope I'm also spelling it. Yeah, not found. Not found. Small letter F. Not found. Just one space. Okay. Return the value. Yeah. Get the value from the object and format as key equals value, right? So it's like key equals value, not found, right? If value not found in the entries, return not found. Okay, so yeah, I have what I need, right? So let's go. The input array is going to be equal to the input dot split. It's going to be a string that is separated by new lines. Then I need to group the input array into 3n. So n is going to be the first. Let's see. I'm thinking of using the structuring, but like okay, the simplest way is I could do this. Input array is going to be the first element, n is going to be the first element, then entries is going to be input array dot slice. Wait, why don't I get the beautiful juice of why is split not a thing? Why doesn't it show me that this is an array? This is strange. Do I need to specify? I'm thinking of something. Do I need to say params or something? And inputs is a string also. Input string std in. No, why does it have the any type? Any? Why should it be any? Why should it be any? Alright, doesn't matter. Okay. Split. I just want to have the IntelliSense. Okay. Splice. I'm going to use splice. And splice means that I should indicate. Splice just depending on this. No, it's not splice. I want to slice. Let me just Google that. So I want to slice. Yes, slice by an array. Slice methods return a shallow copy of a portion. Yes. Of an array into a new array object selected from beginning to the end. End not included, where beginning and end represent the index of the items in that array. Okay, quick example. So this is begin. So it begins from 2, 0, 1, 2, good, camel, till the end, right? So in my case, I want to begin. Believe, wow. Yeah, I believe I was born to do great things. Yeah, I believe. Yeah. Okay. So in my case, this would be n. So I want to begin. I wanted to say believe again. What's up? I wanted to begin. I need to begin from 1, the index of 1, and go to the index. So if you pass. Oh yeah, that would be. Yeah, so let's say that n is equal. Let me just test it out here, right? I'm just going to remove this here from here. Now let's say that n, let's say we want 2, right? We want these 2 to be the key value pairs, for example, right? and this is going to be n. Right, let me just do it here though. So 2, and I say animals 0 position. Then I say that I want to slice from points from index 1. I want to slice, not splice, sorry, slice from index 1 till index n plus 1. Why? Because, for example, because it's the index begins from 0, counting begins from 0 for a computer. So if I say 2, I want to say, okay, no, this is wrong. So I want it to begin from position 1 and end at this number 0, 1, 2. What if I indicated 3? You know what? It's going to do 0, 1, 2, 3. Oh, I don't even need a plus, I guess. So if I do this, oh, I think I need a plus. It's doing bison, right? And camel. So end, it's not taking the last. So if it's 3, it's not taking the third one. 0, 1, 2, 3. It's not taking the third one. End not included. Exactly, end not included. So we need +1. Okay, good. Now we need +1. Alright, good. Now I have the logic that I need. So I come here and I do slice, and I do, we should start from 1 and we should go to n plus 1, right? I hope it makes sense. I think it makes sense. It's really simple. Then this is useless because it didn't help. I wanted the code editor to just say that this input is string, so that when I convert, it knows that this is an array, and then I would get like the very cool suggestions for arrays. Okay, doesn't matter, I can just Google it. Alright, so we have entries. Right now let's get queries. So we want everything from this position right, so we want everything from this place. No, now I want everything from okay, let's say this is 3. Let me add some other animals. What other animal do I know? Okay, there is no dog. Oh, how is it possible? Dog. There is no cat. Hey. There is no sheep. Okay, that's enough. So here we're going to have, again, from this bison to 3. Let's say this is the key value pairs. Right? This is going to be our object, our hash map, whatever you want to call it. Then we're going to, so it's like name and phone number, some phone number, right? Just to understand it, name and phone number, but this is not going to have name and phone number, right? This is just going to be keys. So this, okay, let me just call it input, so it makes sense now. Okay, so this is going to be probably bison, and this is going to be camel, and this is going to be something random, right? Something random. So this should return not found. This should also return not found, but this should return this phone number, and bison should return this phone number, right? So this is for, this would give us the entries. Now we want the queries, right? So it should begin from here, doc. So I guess we don't need 1. We don't need 1 because the reason we needed 1 is because end was not included, and we needed the end to be included. So I guess I can just begin from bison, right? Yes. So I'm still going to use +1 because then I need to start here. It's ending in bison in this place, but bison will not be shown here because the end is not included. But if I use the end +1 again, then let's see. Let me remove this. Let's just move it. Alright, so we have entries. Yep, so we have bison, dog, camel, sheep, right? Makes sense. Good. So I'm just going to copy that logic. I'm going to use it. I hope it makes sense. So I'm just slicing from the n. So if, for example, n becomes 2, everything should work the same way. Let me just move the image up again. Run. And see, we have bison and camel, then bison and camel. So the first 2, like this 1, 2, we want only 2, so we are taking 1, 2, and then for queries, everything from here till the end, right? Even if you have anything there, take everything. Okay, so slice is what we want for this. Yep. Okay, good. So it's going to be queries. It's going to be equal to slice again, but this time we are beginning from the last position, right? Okay, so we have this 3 now. Alright, now implement constraints. So what do the constraints say? 10 raised to the power 5 is 100,000. Okay, so okay, so if n is less than 1, one very important thing, n has to be a number, so we have to pass int to radix number 10. In the day 7, I talked about it. I didn't really explain. I talked about it, and I had a link to where you could read about it. You can also just Google it and find out, like, why do we use number 10. I can't really explain it well enough. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, if n is less than 1 or n is greater than 100,000, 1, 2, 3, then return, right? Don't continue. And the same thing for queries. Queries, each line of query, there one. So after n lines of the phone book entries, there are unknown numbers of lines of queries. Each line query contains a name. Look them up. So on a new line for each query, print not found. Otherwise, print the full name and phone number in the format as name and phone number. So in this case, queries is what exactly? Is it going to be an array? Is it a string? I'm guessing it's an array. Let's just keep it an array. No, but I mean, like I get it, like the total number of queries in itself. Okay, so it's basically the same logic, but it's going to be queries length, queries length. So if it's outside the constraints, then leave the function. Very simple. it's outside the constraint, leave the function. Okay, now we've implemented constraints. So basically, you can move forward, you can fast forward if you don't want to hear me explain the constraints, but I'm going to explain it in case there's someone that doesn't understand how exactly it works. So the idea of the constraints is that they are saying that we should put a certain limit in our function, so that if any argument that is passed into our function doesn't meet the criteria of the constraints, then we should leave that function or not run the main logic of that function. So in our case, they're saying that 1 has to be less than or equal to n. Number 1 has to be less than or equal to. That means n is greater or equal to 1. So n must be greater or equal to 1. So that means n must start from number 1. N starts from number 1. And since it's less than or equal to 10 raised to the power 5, then the range is from 1 to 10 raised to the power 5, which is 100,000. Right? So it must be within that range. So they can't pass, for example, 0 as n here. So here they can't pass 0. If it's 0, then our function, the logic shouldn't run. It's outside the constraints. If it's 100,001, also that means if this in place of this 3, then the logic should not run, right? So let's continue. So the fourth thing is convert the entries into an array. Into an object. I'm sorry. So now entries is an array. Why does it say any? I'm slicing. Well, I get it. No TypeScript. Okay. So convert this into an array. Okay. So let me call this a phone book to make it very clear to whoever is reading it. And since it's an array, I'm going to use reduce, because reduce allows me to convert an array to any kind of form I want, flexibility. So I want to convert this array of strings to an array of objects. Right? Now what we have is this. Let me just comment it. And now what we have is this. We have a setting name and we have phone, right? But what we want to transform it to this. So it's going to be an array, and then it will be name, and then the phone. Does it make sense? I hope it does. So just picture this and have this at the back of your mind. This is what we want to transform it to. Right? Now, what I would say is entries dot reduce. Reduce is a function that takes the previous value. Oh, you can see the hints here. So it has a previous, just call it previous val and current value, and it has an well, they call it accumulator. Some people call it accumulator. So the previous value is like an accumulator, and here I'm going to pass an initial value. The initial value is going to be an empty array. Right? So we want to target we want to make sure that we're returning an array of objects. So in the first iteration, right, we're going to get, so we must always return something, and I want to make this a one-liner, so it's like a one-line arrow function. Okay, so what I could do is I could take previous value and spread it here, so I'm reserving the previous stuff, and then I can say that I want to say this. Oh man, No, I can't make it an arrow function. Like, I can't make it a one-liner because I need to split by space. So I need to split this string by space, right? So I can get the name and the value. So you would understand what I mean by that. Let me just copy paste this there. And so I'm going to say name. So I'm destructuring by array form destructuring. Well, that's not the name. I just came up with that name, but destructuring arrays, I guess that's how it's called. Let's check it. So destructuring arrays. Yeah, destructuring arrays. Okay. Well, that's not the official documentation, but yeah, array destructuring, you see. Okay. In Mozilla.org they call it array destructuring. Yeah, so you get the logic. So you destructure from an array, you destructure an array from an array, and you can call it whatever you want. So I'm going to just do that now, and I'm going to say that, but whatever is on the right hand side has to be an array. So, but this is a string, right? So I'm looping over this, right? So we can have, for example, another name 1, phone 1, and here we're going to have the same thing. We have to comma, it has to be phone 1 and name 1, right? So to be able to do that, what I can do is I can do array. Again, split is your friend to convert strings into an array, and I would string split by space. Well, if you notice, I'm using single quotes. Well, okay, I would stick to single quotes then. Stick to single quotes. Split by a space. Then, if I split by a space, I would get an array of 2 values, right? Name and phone. Name and phone. So what I could do is I can return, right, and do this. I can say name, phone, right? Very looks good, I think. So I'm returning. So the first iteration, the first time this would run, this would be an empty array, previous value would be an empty array, and current would be this string, right? Then I come here and I split that string by the space here, and I would get an array of 2 elements, name and phone. So I destructured the first. I can call this anything I want. I can call it blah 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 blah. I can call this another rubbish, but the main thing is whatever name you call it, it should make sense, and it should, like, the person reading your code again, or even you if you come back after several months, should be able to understand what you wrote. That's why I called it name and phone. So it's logical that, okay, yes, this is a name value and this is a phone value. Okay, so then return an object. So I'm going to be spreading the empty object here, the empty array. Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse anyone, but the empty array here, and I would have an array that I create here with the name as the key and phone as the value, right? So this is done. Then so we have the phone book. It's an array of, oh no, wait, it's an array of, oh no, it shouldn't be an array. No, it shouldn't be an array of objects. It should be a big object. Oh yeah, because I just want it to be a phone book where I point to one key. So I was making a mistake, sorry. So it should be this. no array, just this name, phone, name1, phone1, right? So that means this would be an object, and that means what I have to do is let me just remove this destructuring so it doesn't confuse me, and then I want to, I could also destructure again. Oh no, what I could do is I could just do this. One thing I could do is I could just do this, like so. Dynamic key is equal to a phone, right? And I return previous value, right? So what I do is I just take whatever value is here. This value is going to be name, for example, and I say that inside of the previous value object, create the key with this name, whatever is passed in here, or whatever is passed in here, and make it equal to the phone, and return that previous value. So the object will keep updating every single time depending on the arguments that are passed. So that means that if there is another string, for example something like name 1, again there's a name 1 and this is phone 2, then what do you think would happen? Do you think there would be three objects, like three keys, or do you expect something else? Well, according to our code, what would happen is this second one the value would rewrite this one, because we are just finding that key and we are making it equal to, right? So we have our phone book, and our phone book is an object that we can point to. Now we have to look through each queries, so let's look through each queries. Dot for each, so query so we need to find in our phone book the query query. So we're going to say const phone number is equal to phone book. Basically this will be the name that is coming, right? Queries are just an array of names, because if you look at it, it's Sam, Edward, Harry, so they are just names. So to make it clearer to understand, so you check the phone book and you find the name, you see, to make it clear to you that I can, or again, call this anything I want, right? But just to make it clear that, okay, phone book has names, okay, so we are by the key of the key, which is a name, we're trying to get the phone number, because previous phone book consists of key value pairs, that is name and phone, right? Very simple. Okay, so we find the phone number. Now there is a condition that if the phone wasn't found, so let's say if we found the phone, actually if there is actually a phone number, that means if the name is actually the name actually exists in our phone book, then we want to std out, which is console.log, and we need to format it in this way. The name should be equal to the phone, so I'm going to use backticks here to combine strings, and I'm going to say the name should be equal to the phone number, else console.log not found. Yeah, okay. I think I'm done. think so. Yeah, if value not found in entries, return not found, right? Not found. If it's found, then we should return this. Okay, this looks good. Constraints, yes. Converting the phone book, yes. And this, okay, let's run code. Let's see. I don't expect it to be correct. Oh, it's correct. It was correct. Oh, okay. So not found, blah blah blah. Yeah, okay. Let's see the hidden test cases, and let's hope everything works. Oh yeah, I got it. It worked. Everything was correct. So, like, basically, I'm also learning. I don't know the question that would be asked. Again, it's relatively simple, but it's really helpful to practice these simple things. Just make sure that you understand how things work in, for example, JavaScript or whatever language that you're using. But if you're using JavaScript, then this is how I would do it. You can do it in a different way. It would work as long as you get the solution, and as long as your code is readable and somebody else can understand it, then why not go ahead. Yeah. So that will be the end of this video. Thank you for staying put throughout the video, and have a wonderful time.